Hi everyone. This is Vanshit. Some of you might know me. So the talk is about AWS and building the intrusion kill chain. So I'm going to talk about how small, medium, and large enterprises are using AWS for easy deployment, for auto scaling, monitoring, and capacity provisioning, along with load balancing. So as a result of this, the businesses are able to use these applications and APIs more effectively with minimal issues. But then comes the security aspect to it, and that is what I'm going to talk about in this talk. So I'll be explaining you about the right steps to devise for a successful cybersecurity strategy. Also, we'll talk about some frameworks, models, and best practices, and the standard that the businesses can use for running these services on AWS more securely. Also, I will cover a few case studies through which I'll show you how you can break into the intrusion kill chain more effectively. Basically, through the detect, deny, disrupt, degrade, deceive, contain, respond, and restore steps. So it's always advisable to break into the intrusion kill chain as soon as you can. So let's begin the talk without any delays. Yeah, so let me just quickly share my screen, guys. Vandana, the screen is visible, right?
Yes, it's visible.
Great. So, guys, this is a brief about myself. So, I was a former consultant with Government of India working with UIDAI, the Aadhaar card. I have done a lot of security consultation with Airtel as well. So, I'm into cybersecurity as a consultant, researcher, and I also like to do a lot of instructor-led trainings. I'm into web, mobile network pen testing. So, if you have any, questions or mentoring to be done in that area, and you are looking forward into this area, then probably you can hit me up. uh, Next, I'm also into pen testing, red team gadgets. So I also do a lot of red teaming and develop a lot of hardware gadgets, tweaks with them for the red teaming purposes. I've also been into malware analysis and spam fighter, and I'm also a regular speaker at a lot of security conferences. So you can look at my social handles and follow me or message me if you would like. Also, I have a Facebook page by the name of Hackdoor. So that's a thing that I do, where I do almost all my research posting and all. So you can probably follow the page as well. Also, I have a Telegram channel. So whatever tutorials I make for free on YouTube or on my different mediums, so that is where you can get all the documentation, PDFs, and playbooks. So you can probably hit a like on the channel as well. So, coming back to the talk, let's talk about what is a successful cybersecurity strategy and what are the right ingredients and the requirements for it. So, the first thing is for a successful cybersecurity strategy is that you need the business objective alignment with the key stakeholders, and that support is required. Also, the cybersecurity vision, mission, imperatives have to be shared with the stakeholders. Along with that, you also need to identify what are the high valued assets in running in your infrastructure. Those high value assets can also be referred to as the crown jewels, and you'll see how the intrusion kill chain is definitely required to be killed before the crown jewels are compromised in your environment. The next is the realistic view of the current cybersecurity capabilities and the technical talent that you have in the organization. Then definitely comes the effective relationship with the IT and the security culture, where everyone, even your dev teams, DevOps teams, your CI/CD pipelines, and your engineering teams communicate with each other, clearly, and the security best practices are followed. Executives play an important role here, and that's how your organization actually builds a successful cybersecurity strategy. Now, coming to the initial compromise, so these are a few examples of how the initial compromise actually happens. So we have unpatched vulnerabilities, services running, softwares running, which have the patches available but have not yet been patched. They're still running with the obsolete versions. We have security misconfigurations, web servers, EC2 instances, your S3 buckets having multiple security misconfigurations. So, guys, this talk is going to be very much into AWS only. So, I'll only recommend refer to the services offered by AWS. Also, weak lead stolen passwords are a challenge. In my time during the security assessments, I've seen that the credentials are probably just left open in the wild. There are bid buckets that have code which have hard-coded credentials. There are Git repos that need to be private but are left open to public. And I've also seen people using service accounts and not even having a password rotation policy or a password expiration policy for those service accounts. People are not following role-based communication between different services. An instance of that would be, if I need to assign an EC2 instance and access to an S3 bucket, people generally use credentials for that, which is not the right practice. It's probably the right way to do that would be through the rules. Social engineering still, though it is considered as one of the non-technical threats, but it is still one of the most important and widespread threats and leads to the compromise. Uh, to the latest reports, 80% of the initial compromise happens through a social engineering email to your employee. And then how can we forget about the insider threats? Your own employees or your own infra, people who are managing your infra, the internal partners might also pose a threat to your organization. So here are examples of a few strategies, frameworks, models, best practices that I was just talking about in the first slide. So many people follow the STRIDE threat modeling, the ISO standards, the NSID, OWASP, CIS benchmarks. OWASP has excellent collection for the cloud top 10 for API top 10 now. So probably that is what people usually follow. But to be really honest, for the AWS and the way it is scaling right now, all these cannot just be enough, considering security is a layered approach. So here I have a quick revision of what we have just discussed, guys. So the first thing is, what are the inputs to the strategy? So inputs are basically identifying the high value assets, the crown jewels that you need to protect the most. Prioritize the list of the risk that is relevant to your organization. So you have to create a list that is relevant to your organization. During the threat model, during various the standards you might be following, you might get a list of a lot of risks, but you have to prioritize them. There might be high risks that are more prioritized, that are related to your crown jewels. Okay, so you have to prioritize those high risk and the critical risk first. Now, organizations' risk appetite and governance process also has to be taken care of. You should have a business continuity model also in place. Regulatory compliance and obligations are one of the other things that need to be taken into this strategy. Now, talking about the minimum mitigation requirements, we have just discussed this: the unpatched vulnerabilities, security configurations, weak leaked stolen passwords, social engineering, and insider threats. So, taking all this input and just grinding them up together, let us talk about how the intrusion kill chain, and then I'll also come to an example how these different phases happen. So, when an attacker is planning an intrusion into your account, these are the steps he follows. He does a basic recon. He develops his exploits, his strategies, and weapons according to which he's going to intrude into your organization infra. Next comes the delivery of these exploits, and then the actual exploitation. And once these commands and controls have been installed, then the actions are taken based on the objectives of the attacker. Now, this could be varied in different phases. So here is a quick action matrix of how the intrusion kill chain is actually happening and what are the different tools and steps or strategies used into this intrusion kill chain. Now consider reconnaissance. Your web analytics can detect it. You can deny using firewall ACL. So these are a few things that you can do during the intrusion kill chain. Okay. Now talking about weaponization, your NIDS, your NIPS, as in network intrusion prevention systems, can be used. For the delivery, a vigilant user can actually go ahead and detect it. I'm going to discuss about how these there are different AWS services that you can go ahead and use in order to do it. But before that, let me give you a generalized view. Okay, so we're going to talk about proxy filters, inline AVs, queuing to degrade. So as you can see in these matrix, the strategies to kill this intrusion kill chain and what are the different tools and different techniques that we can use to do that. During the exploitation phase, the HIDS, patch, and DEP can definitely come into the help. Also, actions and objectives can be monitored, detected using the audit log. For example, CloudTrail or GuardDuty, which uses an ML for detection of such things. Also, you can degrade by using the quality of services, and you can follow the strategy of deceive by using honeypot. Similarly, for command and control, you can use DNS redirect. So let me tell you what are the benefits of killing the intrusion kill chain in the early stage. Now, this gives defenders the more opportunity to protect, detect, and respond. So, as a defender, this will give you more time and more opportunity to protect and detect the infrastructure. Because when you are monitoring the skill chain, you'll know where you are actually weak. It will also help you to identify your current protection, detection, and response capabilities. So it will help you when you are under an attack. That is the best time to understand how much are you protected and what is the detection strategies that you have in place and what are your response capabilities to such an attack after it has happened. Also, it also reduces the ROI for an attacker as the level of effort increases. Okay, so as the level of effort increases, the ROI is also reduced. So this level of effort increases for the attacker. So this will reduce. So more the effort the attacker has to do, the less benefit he'll get out of that effort. Okay, simple logic. Now, early detection and early response. So, early detection obviously attempts to detect the intrusion by the attacker at an early stage. You can also have an early response as early as possible in the kill chain. Also, the damages are minimized to your AWS environment. And also, you have a reduced recovery time and cost. How do you go ahead and kill the intrusion kill chain? Now, for killing the intrusion kill chain, I'm going to take an example. Now, for example, let the exploitation happen to through an exploit, which is basically exploiting a vulnerability or a misconfiguration in the operating system, web browser, or any other application that you're using. Okay, an exploit can also be designed to trick people into poor trust decisions, and this is what, guys, we call social engineering. Now, even though it's one of the people considers this as a one of a non-tech attacks, but in my experience, I've seen this where most of the 80% of the breaches really happen. As they say, it's not the computers or the internets or the networks or the clouds that are insecure. It is us, the humans, that add that weakness into these clouds. Now, talking about the control objectives, the detect, deny. So we're going to talk about these control objectives now. So the first one is to detect the threat that is happening, then to deny it access or further exploitation. Then we'll go ahead and disrupt it, degrade it, deceive it. Then we're going to contain it, respond to it, and then we're going to restore our systems back to where they were. Now, let's get to the most interesting part of this presentation, which talks about killing the intrusion kill chain and what are the steps in action. So let us say that you're hosting an AWS and you have your whole APIs, web applications, and your Lambda functions running up and there, and the infrastructure is going well, your business is working well. And then comes a day when an exploit delivery happens and the intrusion is actually into the play. Now, what are the steps and what are the service provided within AWS you can go ahead and use here? So I'll talk about detect first. Now, by definition, or just to give you an idea, what I mean by detect, it will be to discover and discern the presence or the fact of an intrusion into the information system, and in our case, our cloud environment. The first thing would be the Amazon GuardDuty. You all know GuardDuty is an excellent tool. It's a service offered at a very low cost, and it will detect the reconnaissance activities. It will detect, if your API activities are quite unusual, they're not behaving the way they should be. If there is an infra VPC port scanning happening, there are unusual patterns of login requests. If there is someone who's trying to brute force the passwords, or if there is someone trying to, do a brute force or SQL probably, and probably an unblocked code probing for a known bad IP. AWS WAF plays an interesting role at different stages of detecting. So that is one of the recommendations I have, that you can use AWS WAF and use WAF managed rules for automation. Okay, so malicious sources can here be blocked at a very high level. Also, Amazon VPC is very helpful, as VPC can help to prevent against the attackers from scanning the network during the reconnaissance. Okay. Also, VPC black holes routes as a whitelist or a blacklist of the network reachable assets before the security groups or NACLs. Okay. Then AWS config, guys, it is one of the best tools if you want to audit your AWS environment. It will tell you what services you are using, what are the capabilities of these services, and how different misconfigurations are present in there. AWS Inspector also plays an interesting role in that, and we're going to see in the other steps. Another thing is to use AWS Lambda and container partners to complement the security properties of Lambda functions and containers. Okay, because we are all in the stage where we're using container orchestration and Kubernetes and Dockers at a huge scale in the cloud. So coming to the next step. So once you have detected that there has been a threat, now let's come to the next step where you go ahead and deny the strategy. Now this is to prevent an adversary from accessing and using the critical information systems and services. Now, AWS IAM plays an important role here. If you can basically, deny the access to an adversary, contain the blast radius of attacks, that would be my first strategy, my first response to deny. Next comes AWS Simple Storage Service, which is S3 bucket policies. That is one of the things that you should do, and we have seen in the past, the Accenture breach that happened and Capital One breaches. Most of these breaches are happening due to the security misconfigurations and primarily into the S3 buckets. There has been a fixation where we have seen that S3 buckets are the most misconfigured aspect of the AWS, and this is not by AWS, this is by the users, because we have a shared responsibility model when we are using platform as a service from AWS. So that is one of the things. Then comes AWS Secret Manager. This will basically protect your secrets and provide access to your application services and IT resources. Then you can also look at the EC2 with different SE Linux mandatory access control, the trusted BST, free BST mandatory access control, and whatnot. So these all will help you to deny further intrusion into your network and deny access to the crown jewels or the critical information systems into your AWS environment. Now, guys, next step comes to disrupt. Now, once you have detected, denied, the next step is to form disruption. And this will break or interrupt the flow of information that the attacker has now. So now we will go ahead with AWS WAF, as this WAF will allow malicious sources scan and also probe into the internet facing web applications for vulnerabilities. So this WAF can actually help you at multiple stages, guys. Okay, so that's one of the interesting things that you can use AWS WAF for. And guys, do remember to use the managed WAF rules and automation to reduce the admin effort that has to be done during the breach. Also, Amazon S3 bucket policies again will definitely disrupt. If you can control the access to the objects and prevent the upload of malicious objects into the bucket, then that definitely protects your customer data or your intellectual property and your internal employees as well. We have AWS Secret Manager, which basically again protects your secrets, and then the same thing, which will help to disrupt the flow of information for attackers. Now, guys, let's come to the more interesting part, and this is where, for me, the real interesting stuff happens when I start to degrade the attack. Okay, now I have been attacked, I have been intruded, and I'm pretty okay with that because security is just a state till you get hacked or pawned. So that being said, now let's talk about degrade to reduce the effectiveness and efficiency of an adversary command and control or communication system and information collection effort or means. Now, this is where the actual fun begins. Guard duty, guys, this will help you. AWS Lambda automation helps you always. Okay, so if you have Lambda functions integrated with Guard duty, that is definitely going to help. And I'm going to cover in the part, and that is all I'm going to cover into the part 2 of this presentation, which I'm going to talk at the end of my presentation about. So this guard duty and Lambda integration will help the detect the reconnaissance activities and modify the security configurations to degrade or block the associated attack. Also, AWS WAF will protect you from the common web exploits and make sure the application availability, compromise security, and consume excessive resources is banned. Also, load balancing, guys, plays an important role. So, all entries providing the load balance service need to be compromised to guarantee the client interacting with the compromised instance. Now, let me quickly discuss about how you deceive an attacker. Now the attacker has intruded, he's in your environment. Now how do you deceive him? And I think most of you might have heard of that service Smokescreen. I find it a really interesting service which basically deals with the honeypots and how you can deploy honeypots and actually go ahead and deceive the attackers using various services. So yeah, so that's an interesting thing. Probably you can look it up offline. So not talking about the deceive in AWS, to cause this will talk about to cause the person to believe what is not true. The deception attempts to mislead the various adversaries by manipulating their perception of reality. This will talk about the honeypots and honeynet environments. This will help to deceive and contain the attack. Also, the honey words and honey keys can also help. So these are basically, something that I can probably, if you have questions, what are honey words and honey keys, I can take that offline. For now, just understand, and I can also help you to know how you can go ahead and create them. But for now, just understand when an attacker attempts to use a stolen false credential, it will detect, contain, and recover faster. So these are something that we intentionally leave out. It's false. And when an attacker tries to use it, we'll be able to detect, okay, somebody is going to use our honey credentials and basically trying, and we'll detect it. And we'll know that an attack is happening and we'll recover faster. Now, again, AWS WAF and AWS Lambda will act as a trap endpoint to detect the content scrapers and bad bots. Okay. When the endpoint is accessed, a function add to the IP address to block list. Now, to contain the attack, the action of keeping something harmful under the control within our limits, we can use again AWS IAM roles, we can use AWS organizations, service control policies, SCPs, and also AWS accounts, and the different mandatory access control in the different Linux version. So we can disable and remove unused services, packages, ports, etc. in order to contain this threat. Next comes the respond. So this is the capability which will help me to react quickly to an adversary's or other input out another IO attack or intrusion. So AWS Guard Duty partners can really help you in that. They complement it, and there are a lot of third-party tools that can be used. Also, third-party tools used in your AWS Lambda functions. Guys, use Lambda functions with care. With Lambda functions, with they say with great power comes great responsibility. So Lambda functions definitely give you a huge chunk of power and a huge automation control in your environment. But then it has to be responsibly configured and should not lead to your own compromise. So make sure you implement advanced security protection and behavioral security solutions for the Lambda functions as well. Also, AWS has multiple partner offerings, for which you can also go to the AWS, your account managers. AWS managed services are also something that can help you to monitor the health of your infrastructure and handle the daily activities of investigation and resolving alarms and incidents. So alarms and incidents will definitely play an important role in responding. So more alarms, more vigilant you are with alarms, more vigilant you are with the alerts, the more quickly you're going to respond. Next comes to restore, to bring the information and information system back to their original state. So AWS autoscaling can definitely help you in that. It will adjust the capacity to maintain a steady, predictable performance. Also, AWS System Manager and State Manager can help you to define and maintain consistent OS configurations. AWS has partner offerings. CloudFormation can help you. CloudFormation is an excellent tool which helps you to automatically build your infrastructure and do a service catalog. Provision your infrastructure and automate it in a secure manner. So CloudFormation, guys, my recommendation would be go ahead and use it as much as you can. So now let's take a quick look. How do you understand the current security capabilities? Now, that being said, so we have completed how to break the intrusion kill chain, and that was all about it. Now, it's one of my last slides. So this will just talk about how you understand the current security capabilities and controls of your AWS account. I'm going to take the rest of its part in the part 2 of this presentation. It's not possible to cover all of this in one presentation, so I've made it in 2 parts. Probably in the next Null Meet, I'll be coming up with the second part of this. So here's a quick look how you can how AWS config can go ahead and help you. So this will allow you to automate and evaluate the recorded configurations and against the desired configurations. You can review the changes in the configurations and relationships between AWS. But then you know what they say, it's better to be shown than to be said. So here is a dashboard of AWS config. So this I have taken this dashboard from the AWS site. It's a free web screenshot that they had. So this actually shows you what are your different resources, what is the number of those resources, how much do they meet with their configuration rules, meet with the AWS compliance, what are the resource compliances, and what are top 5 non-compliant rule guys. So I feel that AWS config can be a nice starting point for you guys to assess your AWS environment. That being said, this is the end of my presentation. I'll be intruding with the part 2 of my presentation soon. And I hope you guys really